the chiefs, as I said, got together and agreed unanimously that this is a great protocol, and it will form basically the basis for how I think all of us across the province will make decisions in relation to naming homicide victims. Well, I think the consensus around the room was it doesn't change a lot other than it does lay out the basic framework and the law around it. But every homicide is unique, as we know, and we have to consider certain factors before we release the name. And I know one of the big issues is this whole public interest and versus the public interested. And how do we land on that in a way that's lawful? Because really, that's really the key to this. We're just acting within the legislation that's available. So I guess in a nutshell, we go through the legal framework and we kind of start there and we say, okay, now how, in what circumstance do we release the name? There could be an investigative need, which we all knew in the first place. But this lays out the framework, I think, in a lot. It's more or less like a checklist, in my view.
The chiefs believe, as I believe, that that public interest does not trump privacy. We have to figure out how they work well together, how these things work. So have we properly, soberly considered the issues at play before we release names? Ideologically, I don't believe it changes anything. I don't believe it changes anything for us, but it allows us a moment of reflection to say, have we done the right thing? Have we considered the right facets before we go ahead and do this? Remember, as police chiefs, we have a very significant responsibility to communities in their public interest, as you've asked before. You also have a significant responsibility to make sure we are not doing things without being well informed, respecting, which is probably one of the bigger issues in community these days, is the issues of privacy. Are we trying to run over privacy, or are we accepting that privacy is important? And we're well guided, we're well informed, and this is what this body looked at this last couple of days, is let's make sure we are singing from the same song sheet, we have the same facts before us, and allow each of us then to understand on a case-by-case basis how we're going to do this. Remember, there's a comment in there that I know you haven't had a chance to read it in detail. There's a comment in there that there's no such thing as a blanket policy. There's no either you will or you won't. Everything has to be considered on its own merits, and I think that's a responsibility we have to really grab onto.